Nope.
Turn it on.
Turn it up.
All right, what about? There we go. That's a little louder. Okay, good evening, folks. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. My name is Murib. I'm the chair of the Colorado Democratic Party. Who is ready to flip CD8 to the Democrats next? We are so glad to be here having this important conversation about reducing gun violence in all of our communities. And the role of elected officials in protecting our communities couldn't be more important during this time. Before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping. We're going to start with some questions for our incredible panel here, who I will introduce shortly, and then we're going to transition to a few audience questions. Almost every event in the past few months has included protests and disruptions. And so should this occur, we'll politely halt the event so that our team can assist in helping protesters to the exit and continue the event once they're removed. But given the seriousness of the topic tonight, gun violence, which has touched so many of us here in Colorado, and the number of survivors that we have in this room, we sincerely encourage attendees to be respectful and avoid making any disruptions. In that spirit, I will make myself available as CDP chair to anyone who is removed or for any protester who would prefer to have a conversation after this event. Just please connect with our executive director, Karen Asensio, who is raising their hand in the back, and I'll be happy to visit with you after the event to make sure your voice is heard. And so with that, we are here in MAGA Republican Dave Evans Congressional District, and and we decided to host this town hall here because he simply refuses to visit with his constituents. These are issues that matter to people, and he is not sitting down with folks to hear from them. So please allow me to introduce our panel who has chosen to do a town hall for you instead of Dave Evans. House Majority Leader Monica Duran is joining us. We are so thrilled to be welcoming to Colorado Representative Gabby Giffords, who is here with us. Vanessa Gonzalez, to my left, is the Vice President of Government and Political Affairs for Congresswoman Giffords. And we're actually going to start our conversation with our other panelists here, Senator Michael Bennet, if you'd like to give some opening remarks. And then we'll pass the first question to you, Senator Bennet.
How glad, how happy I am to be back. Can you hear me, Mr. Treasurer?
Well, I was going to give you the mic. There you go.
Can you hear me? You can hear me. Yes, hard.
Hello. All right. Thank you. Dave Jones, our treasurer. And all your technicians. I just want to say how great it is to be back at CDA, how amazing it is to be with all of you, and how incredible it is to be with Gabby Giffords here. We should give her another round of applause. I'm in a CD where the current incumbent won't do a single town hall, and I have done either the most or the second most, back and forth with one other person, town halls of any member of the Senate, Democrat or Republican. So this is another one very promote in CDA, because I think that's an important part of our job. I want to tell you that I had the chance once to travel overseas with Gabby Giffords and with her husband, Mark Kelly. Some of you may not have heard of Mark Kelly, but he is a U.S. Senator and he is an astronaut. And I can tell you when we were overseas together, everybody rushed up to see us, not to talk to Mark Kelly, but to talk to Gabby Giffords. Because she is a hero to people all over our country and all over this world. In many of the town halls that I'm having recently, there are a lot of people who are saying, how do I get up every day to continue this battle? You know, how do we give hope to the next generation of Americans? And I think Gabby, because of her willingness to continue to travel, to speak out, to fight, and lead the battle that she has led all these years, should be an inspiration to every one of us. And I know that she is, and we need that inspiration in these times. This is a difficult time for a lot of reasons. And this is 25 years after Columbine, which has struck our state from then forward all the way to Club Q and Aurora and in the Boulder Safeway, and just one after another of these incidents in our state that our children have grown up in the shadow of. My children certainly have, and they are demanding that we finish the job, and we haven't come close to doing that yet. We finally passed a bipartisan bill that we'll talk about a little bit in Congress that had $12 billion of mental health and closed the boyfriend loophole and did some important stuff for younger background checks, but there's so much to do left to close background checks for everybody, that like Colorado has done, and ban large-scale magazines and get these weapons of war off our streets. And the day that that finally happened, we will have Gabby Giffords to thank. So thank you all for being here tonight.
Well, thank you for your opening remarks, Senator Bennet. Our first question is actually for you again. A few weeks ago, Congress passed the Republican budget, President Trump's so-called big, beautiful bill that Gabe Evans, who represents this district, voted for. And we're curious, what was the conversation like in Congress leading up to the vote on this bill? Did you get the sense that your colleagues were listening to the criticism they were hearing, or were they just putting the president and the wealthy interests before those of Colorado?
Honestly, I don't think they were listening to the public at all. And I think we learned that in the very first day that we had any nomination come to the U.S. Senate, and that nomination turned out to be Pete Hegseth, who is now the Secretary of Defense. Every single one of these guys knew that guy was not qualified to be the Secretary of Defense, and yet they walked down to the floor and voted for him because, I'm sorry to say this, but the Republican Party nationally has really become a cult of personality. And that's what you can see with this bill. I mean, the cuts to Medicaid all over our country, but especially in Colorado and in our rural communities, is going to be devastating to people. And they never were able to make the case successfully that there's fraud, waste, and abuse, because this is a program that is a safety net program that working people are on, that children are on, and the people of Colorado, including of this congressional district, know that, which is why Medicaid is so popular with the American people and why this bill is starting to become so unpopular. Very, very important for us to continue to make to carry that message forward.
Thank you. Our next question is actually for Gabby Giffords and Vanessa Gonzalez. We know that there were some portions of that bill that dealt with guns. Those are on top of a lot of other things happening in Washington when it comes to firearm-related policy, like Republicans trying to make it easier for anyone to get a gun silencer, and their numerous attempts to scale back background checks. These same politicians in the House and Senate majorities who voted for Trump's bill have also pushed dangerous policies that could flood our streets with illegal guns, weaken local law enforcement, and make it harder to hold criminals accountable. What can we do to keep people safe in 2025?
Defense, defense, defense. Absolutely. I'm over here gesturing, Mike. So I'll hand you my mic. Absolutely. So Giffords, we knew that coming into this administration and coming into this Congress, we were going to be playing a lot of defense. We took months to start our scenario planning, which was very dark on some days, and other days not so dark. And within that, we were prepared. We were ready. We started going through regulations, we started going through bills, we started going through all of the things that we get from Congress to kind of start marking out everything that we knew that this administration and MAGA Republicans were going to start doing, to start chipping away, particularly at the efforts earned and worked through for the bipartisan Safer Communities Act. And literally, that's what they've done. They've gone through and started checking things off. But at Giffords, because we were ready for that, and because we knew that we were going to have to be on defense, we're not just giving the Trump administration like a green flag. We are fighting every single day to stop things, and we are redefining the win. A bill is probably not likely, but trying to not make it as bad so more people don't get shot, aren't murdered, aren't hurt, that is where we're winning. And so we're trying to really hold back. I think if Gabby went there, and Gabby is on the Hill constantly, and I'm sorry for that, but Gabby is on the Hill a lot, and I think if Gabby were not on the Hill, it would have been a much different conversation, even around the budget, around some of these, the silencers provision, some of the gun laws that affect domestic violence survivors, it would have been very different. So defense.
Right. Leader Grant, this question's for you. We know that Trump's big bill also basically cuts billions from Medicaid. Today, there's a special session announced to fix the Republican mess, which is blowing out a $1.2 billion hole in the state budget. A lot of these funds are critical for survivors of gun violence, and these cuts are going to have huge impacts on communities across the state. Can you share with us what's going to happen here in Colorado because of this, and how's that going to impact people on the ground?
Yes, thank you for that question. So I am a domestic violence survivor, a homeless single mom, and a survivor of gun intimidation. I know that when you go through any one of those life experiences, you rely on counseling, mental health counseling, you rely on different services. These cuts are going to impact the ability for those who have gone through what I've gone through to be able to access the services that they need. And what I have often asked myself since this bill was passed to Gabe Evans, what are you thinking? What are you thinking when you're thinking about your district, your constituents, for the very people you represent? How does this even make sense? How does it make sense in one hand to say we want to support, we want to help, we want to elevate those, at the same time we're cutting the services that they are so much going to need? And that's really, this is just a small part of everyone this is going to impact. But when you think about the long-term effects of those not getting the help and assistance that they need after surviving, whether that's gun violence, gun intimidation, domestic violence, any of those things, what are we going to do? Tell them, I'm sorry, you're out of luck. You know, we can't do anything for you. That isn't right. That isn't right. This isn't what they've asked for. And here in Colorado, I'm really proud of the work that we have done. We have really stepped up to hear our constituents when we go knocking on doors and they say to us, public safety matters to us, right? What we want is bipartisan work. We want you to really listen to our needs. We want you to understand that we struggle to put food on the table. We struggle to pay our bills. That's what they want us to do, not to whittle away at the services that they're going to need, heaven forbid, if they go through what I went through or what anyone else has gone through in this room.
Thank you, Lydia. Just to follow up, we are in Gabe Evans' district. He's refused to host a town hall here to talk about the impacts of this bill. Just curious, as someone who, as of July 1st, Colorado had a balanced budget with protective services, and then the Republicans, including Gabe Evans, voted to basically rip that into shreds and force Colorado into the situation. How is that making you feel? How is that making your colleagues feel that you're left to pick up this mess?
I can use those words. In all honesty, though, what it really does, I think, and what I've really seen in my colleagues and everyone else is we're standing up, we're ready, right? This isn't the time for us to sit here and say, oh my God, I feel so overwhelmed, what are we gonna do? We stand up, we come together, as we're going to in a special session, right? We've heard from experts last week, we brought them all together to explain to us the impacts of what this reconciliation bill, or GOP bill as I call it, is gonna have in Colorado. We've assessed, we're ready to get to work, and that's what we're gonna do. And that's how we lead, right? It's not about power, it's about really leading for the people of Colorado. So we're ready to fight, we're ready to go, and in 2 weeks, we're gonna be getting the work done.
Amen. Thank you. Questions for Senator Bennet? Senator, to that point, what are you and other Democrats doing to hold Trump and Republicans who voted for his bill accountable, and what can people here in this room do to help?
I think you're doing it by being here tonight. I think that I'm trying to do it by having town hall after town hall after town hall. Was in Durango yesterday and here tonight to make sure people understand what's actually in this bill. You know, when people are reading it, sometimes in the newspaper, they have no idea. We need to be calling people's offices. We need people to know that we've seen the vote, that they have cast. And then we need to start building right now until next November to make sure that at a minimum, we get the House of Representatives back at the national level. We have to do that. When I first ran for the Senate, you'll remember this, Dad, in Colorado, I got one ad after another attacking me for being the 60th vote, they called me, on the Affordable Care Act. I was proud of that, but they thought that we were going to lose this race. Because of what we did in Colorado, because of what we did in Nevada, because of what we did in Washington State, 30 million people who would have lost their health insurance that November kept their health insurance as a result of what we did. That's the fight we need to be in right now as well. So thank you for being here tonight.
For folks who are curious on how the House and Senate interact, it's clear we need a Democratic House. Get a little feedback. What are the chances of flipping congressional district 8? We have incredible candidates running in the Democratic primary, and in terms of what that means for being able to pass good policy and protect people, what does that actually mean?
It's critically important. The whole majority can come down to District 8. We know that when Yadira Carvajal won it the first time, she won it by, I think it was 1,200 votes or so. Can you hear me? And last time we lost it by. Can you hear me?
Turn one of them off.
Yeah, this one's off. Is your mic on? Come on, you help us.
And last time.
Are the lapels on?
Karen's got it out there.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone.
There we go.
Nice. Okay, did we just get lucky?
Okay. It's such an important question because we want it. Is that important? Maybe I should take one.
We found the issue.
That's okay. Can you hear? It could be getting better.
I think we made it solve.
I think we did it.
Okay.
We did it.
I just want to say, I think Shad's question is so important. The whole majority of the House could come down to CD8. In fact, it almost has twice before. It made the majority for us, it made the majority for them, and the work we do between now and next November could be the difference in turning that majority around. And you think about, sometimes people say, well, you know, the election is too far off, we shouldn't worry about it now. The work starts now. The work starts now, and when we pass the Affordable Care Act, I can assure you, they did everything they could do between the time we passed it until the next November to flip the House. We're now in that same position, not just with Medicaid, but with the fact that they're trying to take away the Obamacare tax credits as well. It's going to jack up insurance prices for middle-class people all over the state of Colorado.
Our next question here is for Leader Duran. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. So it's clear that in the absence of federal leadership from people like Congressman Evans, state leaders like you are going to have to fill this void, as we just discussed. As a survivor, you've been at the forefront of public safety efforts throughout your career. And so what types of legislative fixes to our epidemic of gun violence should we expect to see coming out of the state capitol in the next few years, especially as
how are leaders like you at the state level attempting to safeguard Colorado from DC's efforts to remove safeties for gun protections nationwide?
Great, thank you for that question. Can you all hear me? I don't think this is important. I'll try and talk really loud. I have to say, I'm really proud of the state of Colorado. When I started in 2019, I had a concealed carry bill I wanted to run. And at that time, I was told, you need to wait. You can't run it for various reasons, right? And I think about that moment, and I think about now, and the bills that we have run and what we have accomplished. And that's because of consistency and determination, not just by myself, I have colleagues right here in the front 2 rows who fought so hard to make sure that we could run gun bills without having to get permission, without having to ask, where it was a norm, just like running a healthcare bill or an animal welfare bill. In the state of Colorado, just think about this, with collaboration with law enforcement, I want to say that. My concealed carry bill was passed this last session after 6 years with the help and support of law enforcement. And what that required, and I did go to gun stores and I did talk to trainers, there was not a standardized testing to get a concealed carry. In other words, you could do a 2-hour class or you could do an 8-hour class. Having a concealed carry permit myself, I easily went in, did a 2-hour class and didn't have to live shoot. The point being is they wanted standardized testing. So we got it done, we passed it. We raised the age to 21 to purchase a long gun. Handgun, you can do that already, but a long gun, you couldn't, unless I got that reversed. Anyway, point is, 21 years, you have to be 21 years old to purchase a gun, and we just passed a bill this last session for ammo, 21 to purchase ammo. You think about that, red flag bill, right? We got that done early on. We have built up on that in the years since. Really proud of that work. Just so much, and it's become, it's a normal conversation, right? And that's what we wanted, and that was such a struggle to do, but it's because of consistency and determination by myself and my colleagues in the legislature. My hope going forward is that we build upon those bills. We have conversations, we look to see how well have these policies worked, were there any gaps or loopholes, and have that conversation because I think it's important. And something I want to mention is on all of these pieces of policy, we always reach out to our Republican colleagues to say, are you interested? Do you want to support this? Do you want to help in some way? The answer is always no, because it's gun policy. It doesn't matter what it is, it has to do with guns. I had a ballot initiative last year, excise tax on guns and ammunition. Those dollars go to help domestic violence survivors, sexual assault, veterans, and school safety. Seems pretty common, right? Something really, yeah, why would we support that? But they would not, because the excise tax of 6.5% is on guns and ammo. But look what it goes to. Where's the need here? So we'll continue building, we'll continue having those conversations long after I'm gone, because we made it the norm, and it's the right thing to do. And we're standing up, and that's how you lead. Yeah.
So Gabby and Vanessa, it's clear the leaders can have a busy agenda here in Colorado, and it's going to need help from partners like the team at Giffords. And so to that end, Gabby and Vanessa here in Colorado and across the country, there are so many local programs doing critical work every day to interrupt cycles of violence. How do you think we can better support community-based efforts, and what is at stake if we don't?
CBI, CBI, CBI. I mean, she's right. She's really, really right. So CBI is Community Violence Intervention Programs. So these are the folks that are literally on the front lines. They are the people from within the communities who are impacted and oftentimes have the most harm done to them because of gun violence. And so common practices, you talk to the people most impacted by the problem, right? Those closest to the problem. And so CBI allows communities to do that and to come together and do that. Giffords, we have our own Center for Violence Intervention, which is also run by someone who comes from a community that had a lot of gun violence in it. So he's an expert and he's able to work with groups across the country. Now, I will say, under this administration, in addition to cutting all of the public safety pieces and hitting us with the budget, they've also cut CBI funds by 800 million. You all may have seen that article one day where a lot of groups, and these are local groups, these are groups with like 4 people sometimes, received an email that they were no longer receiving funds. And that was it. And they had to fire some people. We know that during summer months, gun violence increases. And so right now we have a lot of communities who don't have that type of organization anymore. And so Giffords is working with groups across the country to try to figure out how can we continue to support them in these vital efforts. Sesame Street. Yeah, boo. So Sesame Street, in addition to all of the public services that are happening, I mean, you talk about what a bad bill to try to kill Big Bird, to cut Sesame Street funding for NPR, PBS, all of these things which helped make people, which helped create a sense of community, right? And so many people grew up with these things. You're cutting those strings out from under them by funding, and what we have seen with this administration and extremist Republicans is that they have begun to use the budget and the Reconciliation Act, the rescissions, which has not been used forever. Am I okay? The rescissions, they are using money and budget to cut out the basic systems that people need. And they are trying to undo the sense of community that is created by community groups who are run by local leaders, by PBS, by Sesame Street, NPR, right? Cutting all of this off, and it's extremely intentional.
Thanks, Vanessa. This next question is for Gabby. All of that work is so important, especially here in Colorado, where we know how fundamental the need is to address this issue. From Aurora and Columbine to Boulder and Club Q, Colorado has been touched by gun violence time and time again in a way that most other states have not. Gabby, you've also experienced personal tragedy because of gun violence. What do you tell yourself when things are difficult?
Move ahead, to not look back. I hope others are inspired to keep moving forward, no matter what.
Senator, that is a follow-up to you. Obviously, our state is still healing from a number of the deadly shootings. We've seen they've devastated so many of our communities over the years, as well as daily community violence in major cities like Denver. So what lessons have you learned from survivors and advocates who've helped push the work of making our communities safer, moving the ground here in Colorado and nationally in DC towards gun safety laws? And how has that shaped the way that you think about leadership and accountability?
I would say that Gabby's point is the right one, which is to look forward. And I would just add to that, based on the people that I have met over the years, never give up, never give up. There are people who come to Washington, D.C., knowing that in many places there are going to be doors slammed in their face. And they come the next year, and they come the next year, and they come the next year. I'll never forget standing on the Senate floor the days after, it wasn't the days after, but we were having those after Sandy Hook, and there were kids sitting and families sitting up there, and 10 years later, and more than 10 years later, they're still coming back because the work isn't done yet. And I think that is an inspiration, not just on this issue, not just on guns, but on everything we need to do right now at this moment. There is nobody riding to our rescue. There is nobody riding to our rescue. It is the people that are here tonight. It is Gabby's leadership, the leaders' leadership. That's the work that we need to do now, and it is all in our hands. That's what James Baldwin said during the height of the 60s, during the height of the civil rights movement. Nothing has changed. We have no right to accept anything else but that. This is our responsibility. So thank you for being here.
No, thank you, Senator. And it's clear that the survivors and advocates doing the work on the ground are helping to make the difference. And Gabby, like we just mentioned, you yourself are a survivor who's made it your mission to help others. And Vanessa, you're helping lead that work at Giffords. And to both of you, what motivates you most when you think about the kind of future we want to create for the next generation?
Be bold, be courageous, the nation counting on you.
And absolutely, and I think it's looking inward. It's also for me, I am a mom, like I know some of you who I got to talk to before this are also parents. I have a 13-year-old who is a lot, but I am also, I hate that she has to continuously, since she started school, go through these horrible active shooter drills. They have taken a mental toll on her and her classmates. The anxiety is through the roof. I also know that because we come from communities who are most impacted and have an opportunity to speak out, that keeps us moving. I also know, Gabby has a beautiful granddaughter, Sage. And Sage was two, so she was 2 years old when she had her first active shooter drill. How do you keep 2-year-olds quiet and explain to them what's happening, right? So I think there's a lot of us in this movement, like Gabby, have been personally impacted, who like myself, I do have family members who died by suicide using a firearm, right? So like it impacts so many of us, and it is what drives us to do that work and to show up. So thank you all for being here and making sure that we continue to drive forward.
Thanks, Vanessa. Thanks, Gabby. Leader Duran, we actually, going back a couple of questions, we heard Vanessa mention how gun violence has particularly impacted the Latino community, which we know is a key constituency in this district. And as a member of Colorado's proud Latino community, what is your message to voters here in Thornton and across the district who've seen Gabe Evans put their community's needs last time and time again, including by ignoring the disproportionate impact of gun violence on communities of color?
Yes. Let's give this a try. Hello? I don't think this was working. I think it's on. Hello, great. Thank you for that question. As a proud Latina, I understand what it's like to fight to be heard, to be seen, and to just be taken seriously. Gabe Evans is a Latino, but he doesn't represent the Latino community. I want to make that clear, and I want that understood. Our families matter, our children matter. We have a lot of amazing allies, and I see them all here in the room right now that stand with us and fight for us each and every day to make sure that our voices are heard, our communities are heard. Thank you, Vanessa, for everything you do. Gabby, Senator Bennet. I think it's also important that all of you see somebody like me up here, right? Representing my district, House District 23, which is in Wheat Ridge and Lakewood area, to show that somebody who has survived domestic violence and being homeless and who has survived gun intimidation can still come out the other end. And I think that's an important message for our community, for our kids. It does take a village. Each and every one of you are here for a reason, and you're making a difference. All of us up here have a purpose and a goal, and that's what I want us to remember, and that's what I want us to fight for. And I want us to remind Gabe Evans that he's not doing his job, and he needs to be fired from his job, and we need to take that seat back, and we need to make sure that everyone else in the nation understands that Colorado knows what it takes to lead and to just listen to our communities, and that's what I really want, and that's what I'd really love to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. We are so lucky to have your voice in the State House. Thank you. Gabby, from this conversation and the crowd we've gathered here this evening, we can see that ending gun violence is so important to so many of us here in Colorado. And from responsible gun owners to community advocates, elected officials and survivors, what's your advice to people looking around their own communities and wondering what they can do to help?
Be a leader, set an example. Be passionate, be courageous, be your best.
Thank you. It is very clear that so many of us have the same spark for leadership you do, so thank you so much. And to that end, a lot of you care about this issue, it's why you're here. You've asked some incredible questions, and so I'm going to go ahead and ask questions to the whole group on stage, to the panelists here. If you're chomping at the bit to answer, wave your hands frantically, and I'll hand the mic over to you. But we're gonna go and start with the first question here from Pat. Pat asks, I want to know what gun violence reduction bills are in process right now, and do they have a chance of passing?
I would say it's gonna be tough right now in the US Senate and the House for all the reasons that you know, but we're continuing to push and continuing to push. I introduced a bill called the Go Safe Act that was based in part, I think, Tom, on work that you had done here in Colorado. Mark Kelly and I introduced it with Martin Heinrich that would ban certain gas fired automatic rifles. That is a piece of legislation from 3 Western senators that we think have set a new standard for what we need to be doing back there. And so we continue to work and we'll continue to persist because that's what we have to do until we can get a Congress that's actually more responsive to the American people.
Alabama.
So, one day, we woke up and we saw that Alabama had actually passed some pretty groundbreaking legislation to prevent gun violence. What they did was they made it illegal to, it's a lot of technical terms, but to retrofit essentially your legal firearm to become more powerful and an illegal firearm. And that happened in Alabama, of all states. So to speak a little bit to that as well, you're here and you're doing the work. Gabe Evans is working for the gun lobby CEOs, period. And so when we think about how we can get some bipartisanship going again, like we used to have with the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which was landmark legislation, the most landmark legislation placed in 30 years, right, on this issue. That's amazing. And we have people like John Cornyn helping support it, right? Texas. The only way we can do that is to make sure that people like Gabe Evans know that everybody is listening and working to move him out, and that we are clear he is not looking to keep communities safe. He is not supporting community violence efforts. He is not supporting domestic violence survivors and their policies. He hates PBS, I guess. And so all of these things, we need to make sure that we are communicating to him and to the voters and to the constituents to make sure that they understand he is not representative of the people of America and the communities. And also remember Alabama, so it can be done.
Thank you for that. Pat, thank you, raise your hand, thank you for that question. Okay, the next question is from Julie. She says, thank you for being here. How do I open a meaningful conversation with people who refuse to entertain any form of gun control? It's a great question.
I think that giving people a sense of the lived experience of people in our communities that are facing the kind of trauma that Monica described, for example, and the sorts of things that our children have lived with, the drills that they have to do in school, that sense that they have every single time there's a lockdown in a school, that it might be their school, that they might be next. That's not a way for children to be able to live, and I think most people in the country share that view. And over time, as we continue to push, the focus on that, I think, is going to break through, but it is going to require us to keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing. I don't know if you have anything.
I would agree with you on keep pushing, and I think it'd be really helpful, because I know there are a lot of responsible gun owners out there like me who feel it's our responsibility, our duty, right, to make sure that we pass policies when it comes to gun safety, that we pass them at the legislature. We have, I'm proud of that work. We closed the boyfriend loophole a long time ago, Senator, so I'm a little proud of that. But I think the more voices we have from our gun owners in our communities is really, really helpful. I know they're out there, I've talked with them, so I'd love to see more of those conversations happening, and that would really make some change in bringing everyone to that table, but it's always such a challenge to do.
The bubbas.
So Giffords has a gun owners for safety program. I think some of you might be members who are here, so thank you for that. This is an alternative to the NRA. And so Gabby's group in Texas of Responsible Gun Owners for Safety call themselves the Bubbas. So they roll up, they're gun owners. I am from Texas, so I can talk about Texas this way. They look like real Texans. You know, the boots and the whole nine. And they will talk to you about responsible gun ownership. And this is not a toy, and this can do real damage. And it is their duty to make sure that they are talking to other gun owners. So when we talk about that community conversation and how to open up conversation, we do have gun owners for safety who are Republicans. We don't litmus test them. They don't have to agree on everything. What they have to agree is that there is a responsible and common sense way to own a gun. And then we'll talk to you. And it's worked out really, really well.
Oh. 20,000 people.
Do we have 20,000 people?
I don't know.
So at one point, we had to, I think on all of our lists and things like that. So on all of our mailer lists, again, no litmus test. You can go to Giffords.org, you can sign up if you're a gun owner, and we'll send you information. There's also what we're also, yes, testify. So we are also training up our gun owners to be able to testify at state levels. They also testify for city ordinances, which is something people miss sometimes. And we are getting them pumped to go up to federal level testify, and they actually go to the Hill with us. They talk to members' offices, they go to district offices, because again, a lot of these folks are registered Republicans, and they walk in there saying that. And then they talk about their requirement, you know, for gun owners and good votes from their members.
No, thank you very much for that question, Julie. I can see a clock over my shoulder here. We have time for one question. I know we have a lot, but this last one is for Linda, if you're in the audience. Thank you for this question. What bipartisan bills on gun safety are the Democrats presenting this year? I check congress.gov frequently, but see nothing that is bipartisan.
I can't even sit up here and say, but we did pass a bipartisan bill not that long ago that Gabby led, that I mentioned earlier, and it made some steps forward after 30 years of not doing anything, and that was largely a bill that had, as I mentioned, $12 billion in mental health and some other aspects to it. As the leader said, you got the boyfriend loophole long after Colorado did, like everything else we get long after Colorado. But I don't think in this era of looking at a huge amount of success, we gotta keep working, and that's what we'll keep doing, and we gotta make sure that we do everything we can to change the House in the next election, and that starts with this congressional district right here in Colorado. We wanna make sure we don't wake up after the election is over and know that we've sent another person to Washington that doesn't support the mission that Gabby is here to represent tonight, and that all of us are here to share. So I just want to say thank you again to you for being here. Thank you. That means a lot.
Okay, we'll have one last question for Gabby Giffords. Before we close up, can folks please thank our incredible panel here. This conversation has been powerful. It's evident that folks here in Thornton are fired up and ready to do the work to build a better future for the next generation. So Gabby, as we wrap up here tonight, would you like to close us out with a few words?
Our lives could change so quickly. Mine did when I was shot.
Yes.
But I never gave up hope. I chose to make a new start, to move ahead, to not look back. I'm relearning so many things, how to walk, how to talk, and I'm fighting to make the country safer. It can be so difficult. Losses hurt, setbacks are hard, but I tell myself, move ahead. I'm finding joy in small things, riding my bike, playing the French horn, going to the gym, laughing with friends, the small things add up. We are living in challenging times. We're up to the challenge. My own recovery has taken years. Many people helped me along the way, and I learned so much. I learned when people care for each other and work together, progress is possible, a better world is possible. But change doesn't happen overnight, and we can't do it alone. Join me, let's move ahead together. Thank you very much.